You've been through a breakup and you've been doing your self-healing for a few weeks or even months now, when suddenly out of the blue, your ex contacts you. Is it a sign? Is it a test? Is it the law of attraction or psychology? Today, I'm going to explore all of these possible reasons, and then I'm going to give you 8 reflective questions to ask yourself before you take any action. Welcome to Ready for Authentic Love on Awakening Airwaves. My name is Gwen Allison. I'm a Reiki Master Teacher and a transformational life coach. So the fact that your ex has contacted you, now that you've embarked on your healing journey, many would describe as the universe testing them. So let's talk about that first. What's really happening here? Perhaps you've been meditating regularly, or you've been working on your self-talk and you're speaking to yourself and thinking thoughts about yourself. They're a lot more compassionate. Maybe you've built up your self-worth. You're putting yourself first now. You've worked on your limiting beliefs, gone through all of those. You've tended to your past wounds about relationships. And then suddenly your ex shows up. A text comes through maybe, or they like your post on social media, or maybe you bump into them in the street whilst you're out shopping. It could also be that you've noticed that you're attracting completely new people now, and maybe these people remind you of your ex. I believe that the universe isn't actually testing you, it's actually presenting you with an opportunity to practice your new way of being. How would you know you've changed otherwise? Yeah, it's something that has to happen. We've done all this work. We've set in our mind that this is what we're going to do. We're no longer going to tolerate this or be like this. And we've done a lot of work on ourselves. We don't know if that's been effective, if we really have embodied that belief, that change, if a similar scenario doesn't come up. Yeah. So that's really what I think is happening there. The universe isn't out to get you or test you or be mean to you. It's giving you an opportunity to practice. Some people also think that the sudden appearance of your ex is the law of attraction responding to your shift in energy. And I actually agree with that. You've done a lot of work. As I said, you've changed your whole frequency, your whole vibration from one of maybe pain and suffering, maybe neediness, maybe lack of self-love, believing maybe self-blame, maybe even anger, projecting all that anger out to people. When you start doing your self-work, your healing, whatever that might look like, whether it's meditation, affirmations, working on your inner child, this completely shifts your energy, your internal energy. And we know that doesn't just stay in the body, that internal energy also radiates out beyond you. And that is attracting like energy back to you. So there's definitely truth in that the law of attraction is working. Psychologically, it may also be that you've been more confident. You're now emotionally available and no longer chasing validation. You're perhaps able to be a little bit more vulnerable with yourself in connections with others. And this is a very attractive energy. You're maybe more lighter, not so heavy about relationships. So again, I guess I would say a little bit more law of attraction, but you've done some psychological work. So that's also going to be attractive. So what do you do if this happens to you? How do you know what it means? I've got some questions for you to ask yourself, and this will bring you some guidance, some clarity. So it's important to kind of pause when this happens to you, when your ex shows up. Don't just react. Don't just take action. I want you to follow these questions if you can and not skip this step. Yeah. You certainly don't want to do something that will undo all of the hard work and put you back in a place of suffering and pain in some way. So grab your journal, grab your pen. You might want to light your candle, set your space, and we're going to go through these 8 questions. So the first question to ask is, am I excited that they're back? And if I am, is it because I genuinely see a healthy future with them, or is it because I finally feel chosen? And this is an important question. They're all important questions, but these are 2 very different feelings, right? Am I just doing it out of ego, really, because I'm suddenly feeling chosen, feeling attractive, needed? Is that why I'm going back and I've missed that? Or is it because I actually see a healthy future with this person? So you have to be really honest with yourself here. The second question to ask before you take any action, respond to that text, any of that, has the person changed, Or have they just simply reappeared? You know, is it just fate? Is it just there? Or has the person actually changed? You know, before we actually decide we're going to jump into that. If I met this person for the first time today, knowing everything I know about them, would I still choose them? That's a big question, isn't it? And you have to be honest. And this has happened to me as well. I've had exes come back and I've had to really assess what's really going on there. Initially, it's flattering, and it may even have been what I was asking for at one point. I just want to be back to normal. I just want us to be together again. You know, and we can often look back with rose-tinted glasses at these things. So, you know, this is an important question. If I met the person for the first time today, knowing everything I know about them, would I choose them? Yeah. And if you want to take yourself out of the equation, if my friend met them, would I choose them for my friend? But it's a really good and one of my favorite coaching questions, because it does remove that nostalgia. We do tend to look back at our relationships with rose-tinted glasses. We don't see any of the problems. We just see the good times. And, you know, this is broken for a reason. We've split up with this person for a reason. What's really going on here? I'm not saying that sometimes people don't get back together again, but we just need to do this assessment. Okay, question number 4. If you feel tempted to let them in, ask yourself, am I responding from a place of peace or from a place of loneliness? Loneliness can often disguise itself as love, you know, and so we can, that pain of loneliness can feel really strong, and we just want to plug it with anything, and we're not discerning about what we're choosing and what we're bringing forward. So if it's from a place of loneliness, we know we need to still do some healing, because we should be at the stage where we are comfortable with ourselves. There are many videos that I've done already for Authentic Love about loneliness. You can go to the very first one, I think, talks about that. So be careful, you know, am I just trying to plug a hole? Am I trying to get something external before actually taking time to build it up for myself? You know, you want to be responding from a place of peace. The 5th question, what did I ask the universe for? Hopefully, you know, you've done your healing. You kind of have a better understanding about what you want in a relationship, who you want to be, how you want to conduct yourself, and who you want the person to be, what you want to give them, what you're hoping. It's reciprocal, right? What you're hoping you'll get back. So if you've done some journal on this, on that relationship, even if it was 6 months ago, 2 weeks ago, you know, and maybe you're saying, I want honesty, I want consistency, I want emotional stability and maturity, I want loyalty, I want communication, I want fun. Look back at your list. And again, we've done this work as well in a previous video. Maybe we'll put some links down below. Maybe Kay will do that for me. Thanks, Kay. But have a look at the previous video and if you haven't done that, but look at that list and look at what you wrote down in terms of what you wanted in your relationship, what you wanted in the person. Does this person now represent that? Or am I settling just because it feels familiar? Yeah, really big question. Question number 6. What boundaries would the old me have ignored that the new me can now honor? And this is where your healing becomes visible. You know, what would you have let go before that you're now like, no way, I'm strong enough to be able to walk away from this, challenge this, say something about this, not just not let it go. You know, what boundaries would the old me have ignored that the new me can now honor? Yeah, and just be thinking about that. When this presents itself to you, write it down. Yeah. The 7th question, what red flags did I excuse before? Can I now see them for what they really are without trying to make excuses for them, without trying to fix them? You know, can you really now see them as red flags, which means, stay away, caution, caution. Yeah, so what red flags did I excuse before? And can I now see them for what they really are without trying to make excuses for them? And we have to be really honest with ourselves. If we're looking for to complete our healing phase, go through that, we may need more time. We don't want to be jumping into a relationship and we're not fully there. And we're not saying that you want to be fully healed, guys, definitely not. But you want to be quite far along your journey, because otherwise you'll just repeat the same cycles, the same problems, the same issues, the same traumas. And so we need to protect ourselves by making sure we've done that healing. We need to be honest with ourselves about where we are on our healing journey, because it's very easy to be railroaded and then we find ourselves back to square one. You know, so many clients would say to me, oh, I was doing so well, I was healing, everything was good in my space, and I was doing my morning meditation, doing my Reiki, everything was so good. Then he came back and he spoiled it all, or she spoiled it all, or they spoiled it all. And it isn't them. We've allowed that to happen, you know? So we have to be really, really, really honest with ourselves about what this means, what we're feeling in our body. Why am I really leaning towards that? You know, is it because it's really going to serve me, or is it just plugging a hole for now? Does it, you know, mean that I don't have to do this hard healing work anymore? Is that why I'm doing it? The universe will, if that's really why you're doing it, be careful. The universe will present the same scenarios, and sometimes worse than before. You know, we've all seen that in our lives. We stay and stay and stay despite what's going on, and it just gets worse and worse and worse till one day we're like, oh, okay, I'm gone. So you can really avoid that if you're honest with yourself about the action you're taking and why you're taking that action. And then the final question, question number 8, you're sitting there going, oh, there's more questions. This is so hard. Am I attracted to who they are, or to who I hoped they'd become? You know, if they haven't changed and you're still attracted to that, fine. If not, you know, are we still living in a kind of fairy tale about them, romanticizing what we want them to be, which is also putting a lot of pressure on them. If they're coming back and they haven't changed, you know, you need to make a decision about that. Do you want to go back? You know, we're holding on to this dream and this fantasy, and because they've suddenly appeared, you know, we're thinking, oh, it's meant to be. This is the law of attraction. They've come back because they're changed and they're a match to me. But if we still have deeper healing work to do, we can still be attracting from those deeper wounds. We can still be attracting from those deeper wounds. So again, it's an important assessment to make. Yeah. It's also good to understand, guys, over the 8 questions. So hopefully you've written them down. You can pause the video, write them down, have them in your back pocket, ready for when that moment comes, if it hasn't come. But if it has come, do go through those questions. But it's also good to understand that you're not healing because you want to protect yourself from attracting wrong people. The healing means that you'll kind of, you may still attract these people, but you'll notice the red flags sooner. You'll walk away sooner. You won't accept things that you would have accepted before. You'll be strong and grounded in your boundaries. And that's an enormous shift. That's real healing. So it isn't that we won't attract these. It can shift it. To be honest, I've seen that. It will attract, hopefully if you've done this work, you'll attract a higher level of person. But there may still need to be this sifting that needs to happen. You know, you may still attract someone who isn't right for you. And so, but you'll be, because you've done the work, you'll be able to walk away from that. You'll be able to see it for what it is, you know? So yeah, just understand that. So if you used to attract people who were not emotionally unavailable, I should say, then that might still happen in amongst those that are emotionally available. And it's who are you going to choose? The emotionally available person might not feel like your type, might not look like your type, might not act like your type. And so it can be very, at first you may push them away. But that again is the universe kind of giving you a chance to practice making these new choices, you know? So yeah, your healing doesn't necessarily mean that I'll never attract an emotionally unavailable person again. It basically means that you recognize it earlier. You don't ignore it. You don't try and rescue them. You don't try and fix them. Certainly don't try and fix them. And you don't stay. And that is something we can celebrate. That's progress, you know? So your ex coming back also doesn't mean it's about reconciliation. It can sometimes mean it's about closure. It could be, you've wanted it to end differently. You wanted to be able to say certain things, or you just kind of need one final look to acknowledge that you moved away for the right reason. And so it can be about that closure. And this is something that happened to one of my clients. We were doing our healing, and only a few weeks into the coaching and healing work that we do, her ex showed up again. And she was able to acknowledge that, yeah, I don't want to go back to this. This is definitely closure for me. This is why it's come. And she welcomed that encounter. She saw it as completely different as maybe what she would have seen it as if she hadn't done her healing. Maybe she would have made a different choice, with that. So, it's important sometimes when that ex comes back, we see it as closure. We realize that we've changed enough to not choose the same story again, So try not to get caught up in why your ex has contacted you. It's really about who you've become since they've left. These questions help you ascertain that, assess that for yourself. And then hopefully you come out of it and you feel there's no compelling desire to chase them, to go back to them. You're now more willing to walk away from certain conversations. You can now own your boundaries without guilt. You're not people pleasing anymore. You're not doing the things you were doing before just to fill a gap, just to be with someone. You're not fearing loneliness. In fact, you enjoy your own company now. Maybe that's where you are. For the first time, you realized you genuinely have the power to choose. And that's so healing. It's amazing. So I hope you found these questions useful, this whole video useful. Let me know in the comments if you have, and let me know what's worked for you, what maybe hasn't worked for you, or perhaps you're still struggling with this and I can give you some pointers in the comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, for more videos like this. You may want to watch this video next. It's coming up at the end. But until next time, guys, stay open, stay grounded, stay true to your heart. Thank you.